All right. I think we're live. Push one in the chat if you can hear me. All right, got a confirmation. Thank you for the confirmation. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is episode 521, Black Blockchain Talk. Please hit the like button as you come in, share the video if possible, hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust, including those posted on the community tab. There's a doc in the description beneath the video for you to follow along with. If you want to engage in the discussion, there'll be a link in the chat for you to click on. When you click on the link, make sure you raise your hand. Zoom actually just put out an update a few minutes ago. So you want to make sure you update your Zoom client before you join the panel. Okay. Should be version 5.1. Make sure you update the client first before joining the panel. All right, let's get started.
Yeah. I throw down with the showdown. Watch how it go down. Get mowed down on the lowdown. Trees I used to blow down. Hoes get the D like Motown. What goes around comes around. I don't fuck with crack dealers or with jums around. You telling me to speed up? I'm telling you to slow down. Stop fucking with the weed spot. Stacking my paper. Got my free thoughts. Leave them all distraught. I used to love to burn. Now it's too hot. Hey yo, I love to learn but hate to be taught. Hood shit, misunderstood. I know I could shit. Robin Hood shit, withstood shit. You a one-trick pony with a damn good trick. You the one slick phony and I ran Joe, bitch. You stuck, no movement like inertia. Never vice versa, I curse you. Really moving the cursor. You trying to hurt you, instinct not to nurture. Sirens don't alert you, religion can convert you. After we bury and dirt you. If cops want to search you, here's a gun for they murder. No more chill, son. It's murder kill, son. When we see Officer Darren Will, son, the sucker better stay in hiding. Yeah, I'm armed too, and I'm law-abiding. I'm the press. Trend is my vice, like Biden. We presiding, making decisions and deciding. No dividing, we all together and we riding. Coinciding with the people, no subsiding. We march, we riot, no fatigue. We talk, we quiet, you intrigued? Should have done it much sooner. First nightfall, like Luna, the Hardaway Jr. You got a little fizz, B2K. Say please like Seve, love who play. It's a new day. Don't lose your lips, loose layer. What your crew say? We like Toka on a Tuesday. I'm stomping and scoring, and I'm taunting you, haunting you. Taking what was popular. You could get the wood like a carpenter. I went from a slave to a motherfucking conqueror. You got me feeling some sort of way. 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 You got me feeling some sort of way.
I guess there's no concealing sort of way I'm feeling. Baptized in rebirth minds, holy water healing. I ain't a hater, I'm a truth sprayer, truth slayer, soothsayer. Youth, they are misguided, lines been divided. Enemies decide who live or dies. A tragedy, no Shakespeare parody. Real players who feel away late, body top of body, benzo after benzo, molly after molly. Never let the info of the ungodly guide me. My body is a temple, I pollute it. Call me Bobby, my prerogative. I'm sorry, new addition to my legacy. Forever be my reasoning for discipline and strengthening. Rexing that OG, saying something and you saying nothing. Standing on a soapbox don't mean you know twat. Indoctrination of the nation. The people conform to societal norms. In between the lines, reborn.
Move the crowd, got tools for the reddest eyes. Move the crowd, got tools for the reddest eyes. Reddest eyes. Move the crowd, got tools for the redest eyes. Move the crowd, got tools for the redest eyes. Redest eyes.
Yeah, yeah. Set up. Streetwise. Feeling some sort of way. Yeah. What's good, world? I like to welcome you to the EP Afterwards.
All right. Get started. Pull the first item on the docket up. Share my screen real quick. Let me drop the link in the chat as well, because I think people want to join. All right. All right, let me read the docket, or at least the first item on the docket, which is the only item on the docket. From Forbes.com, Congress has now introduced 32 crypto and blockchain bills. This came out a couple of days ago. No shortage of interest in cryptocurrency, as members in the House of Representatives and U.S. senators have introduced a total of 32 bills in the 116th Congress. Section of Project Libra, ongoing clarity for the industry, and the novel concept of a U.S. digital dollar, the level of interest on Capitol Hill appears to have grown beyond what has typically been just a handful of legislators. Below is a chart in a congressional address, the use of cryptocurrency in potential terrorism, money laundering, human and sex trafficking. 13 bills focus on regulatory framework and treatment of cryptocurrency and ways could be used by the U.S. government, and the two newest bills cover for the narratives driving some broad concerns in Congress regarding the potential for cryptocurrency use by bad actors seems to have been a primary concern in 2019. The bill covers the use of cryptocurrency by terrorists, money launderers, and human. One bill addresses how foreign adversaries, such as Venezuela, look to avoid economic sanctions by creating their own cryptocurrency. 3 of the bills focus on ways to empower agencies use blockchain, AI, and digital identity technologies to help detect criminal activities involving cryptocurrencies. One bill called the Defending American Security from Kremlin Aggression Act, introduced by Senator Lindsey Graham, actually looks to promote international effort to protect financial institutions and cryptocurrency exchanges from cyber theft. This takes a different approach than focus on focusing on how cryptocurrency use might be used by criminals and instead elevates crypto exchanges to the same level of importance as financial institutions on the geopolitical stage. Senator Lindsey Graham also introduced the Earn It Act that has provoked a great deal of concern regarding the future of end-to-end encryption as well as legal immunities that have protected internet. Amazon and Google have been able to flourish to the size they are today, thanks to this Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. It seems Senator Graham and others now believe that big tech has grown so big and influential, this immunity needs to be weakened for public policy concerns. However, for blockchain platforms in their nascent growth stages, eliminating this concept would prove a deterrent for the sector. The highest level of bills in any category covers the regulatory treatment of blockchain and cryptocurrency, as well as the tax treatment of crypto. Facebook's Libra project ended up sparking a few bills that followed as a backlash to the prospect of a giant social media company introducing a global currency into the US and the world. Although Facebook argued against the notion that it was a security, the Managed Securities are Stablecoins Act, introduced by Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia and Congressman Lance Gooden, aimed to ensure the basket of currencies backing the Libra coin would be treated as just that. Recent news reporting how Libra has moved away from the basket of currencies concept might have been influenced by the prospect of unfavorable treatment as a security. While the prior bill looked to classify the offering of Libra as securities, the Keeping Big Tech Out of Finance Act, as introduced by Representative Jesus Garcia, is much more direct in simply not allowing a large social media company from engaging in financial activities. In addition, Garcia introduced another bill called the Protecting Consumers from Market Manipulation Act that has an interesting approach to crypto regulation not seen before. The bill requires the Financial Stability Oversight Council, FSOC, to consider treatment of digital currencies as a designated financial market utility. In addition, it would require any non-financial company such as Facebook that enjoys a minimum level of profits from digital currencies to become a bank holding company supervised by the Federal Reserve. Hypothetically, Libra could then be considered systemically important to the financial system and undergo the highest level of regulatory scrutiny, as well as additional regulatory reporting requirements as a result. The Cryptocurrency Act of 2020 was introduced by Representative Paul Gosar as a way to regulate crypto by economic function, while the Token Taxonomy Act, sponsored by Representative Warren Davidson, focuses on technological approach to regulation. Both of these bills look to divide up the responsibility of regulation amongst a few different agencies, while the bill from Representative Garcia would essentially make the Federal Reserve as a sole regulator for cryptocurrencies. This is very fishy. Congress also looks to support the growth of blockchain technology under the broader consideration of how it may impact other sectors of the economy beyond cryptocurrency. The Blockchain Promotion Act, sponsored by Senator Todd Young and Senator Ed Markey, is already out of committee and awaits a vote on the Senate floor. The bill directs the Department of Commerce to establish a blockchain working group to submit a report to Congress, which contains a recommended definition of the distributed ledger technology commonly referred to as blockchain technology. Additionally, the blockchain working group is to conduct a study to examine a range of potential applications, including non-financial applications for blockchain technology. In addition, bills in this category include how blockchain technology could be used for better hospital data security for endemic fungal disease research, to the inclusion of a briefing by the Department of Defense to the Armed Services Committee on potential use of blockchain technology. The required briefing was an amendment in last year's NDAA by Congressman Darren Soto that became law on December 15, 2019. Finally, as a new category added with two bills that include a new term called the digital dollar, the tracking of central bank digital currency legislation has been developed. The first bill introduced was the Banking for All Act by Senator Sherrod Brown, and the second and latest bill concerning digital currency was the Automatic Boost to Communities Act, introduced by Representative Rashida Tlaib and Representative Pramila Jayapal. Both bills focus on faster delivery of economic stimulus benefits to Americans in light of COVID-19. It is likely that more legislation on the topic of central bank digital currencies will be growing. It will be a growing area as Congress looks to address this subject. It is also fair to note that cryptocurrency and blockchain continue to grow in prominence around the world. A similar volume of legislation for the subject matter can be expected in the 117th Congress as well. So what I find interesting here is this. I hate when it does this. They want to put cryptocurrencies. Somebody said I'm real choppy. I don't know. Am I still choppy in the chat? I don't know. Yeah, put in one in the chat if you think I'm still choppy. Okay, yeah, thank you. What's happening here is that, and I find it very interesting. For one, the Federal Reserve is not a government institution. Okay, it's not run by the government. It's a private institution. Why does the Federal Reserve get to have a say over what Facebook's Libra or any digital currency does in the United States? The Federal Reserve is not an institution oversought by the government, but the federal government. Your tax dollars doesn't actually go to the Federal Reserve, at least not in the way that it would a public institution. It's not a public institution. So why would they have any say over what happens with Libra or any other digital currency that is cropped up here? Who are they to determine that? Nobody else can determine that. Why are they the only ones that's able to determine that? I find it to be very interesting. Okay, very interesting. So we have to be mindful of what kind of games are being played here. Would essentially make the Federal Reserve as a sole regulator for cryptocurrencies. Who gave them that right? You see, the politicians that are elected by the public are handing over the responsibility of this to another private institution that masks itself as a public institution for the good. Okay, this is what they do. And so this is one of the reasons why Black people don't have a public bank, because they have made sure to stymie any economic growth and opportunity that comes from this. And interesting, they have a bill in there that talks about community, a community act, right in one of these bills. I find that to be very interesting. Okay. Financial Stability and Oversight Council considered the treatment of digital currencies as a designated financial market utility. It would require any non-financial company, such as Facebook, that enjoys a minimum level of profits from digital currencies to become a bank holding company supervised by the Federal Reserve. Now, wait a second here. Wait a second here. Anybody who makes these transactions in from remittances and so on and so forth would be considered a financial institution, would they not? I mean, you can send money through, PayPal or whatnot. Why can't they have their own sovereignty? Because they don't want them to have their own sovereignty. They want a private institution like the Federal Reserve to have that level of ownership, that control over the tech companies. And so now there's a battle between the old guard and the new guard, the technocrats versus the grand old party. So wait a second here. Now you know why. So the Fed can pump the market to prop it up every day, during COVID, with $1 trillion a day, and no one gets to tell them what to do. Not even the people in Congress. They don't get a chance to tell them what to do. They write all these bills that protect the Federal Reserve, but don't want, the same Federal Reserve. They don't want that. They don't want the tech companies to have that sort of flexibility as well. And so we have a battle going on right now, at least a coming war. This is a digital Cold War between the technocrats versus the old guard. And so I find this to be relatively interesting. The other piece I wanted to get to was the Blockchain Promotion Act. Okay. Blockchain Promotion Act is already out of committee and wait to vote on the Senate floor. The bill directs the Department of Commerce to establish a blockchain working group to submit a report to Congress, which contains a recommended definition of distributed ledger technology. So what they're trying to do is redefine what the technology actually is. Okay, they want to redefine it for themselves. See, there's already a definition for what distributed ledger technology already is. Blockchain is just a commercial name. It's a common name referred to in regards to Bitcoin. But when it comes to distributed ledger can mean many other things. Well, not mean many other things. It can apply to many other things. Okay. And so what they're trying to do is redefine it so that it fits their scope. Again, old guard versus technocrats is the new digital Cold War. Okay, instead of a wall separating Berlin, from East and West Germany, what you have is lines of code separating, these bills on Capitol Hill versus the lines of code that is typed inside of a computer. And so there's a Cold War coming. And the old guard fired the first shot because the technology worked just fine. The internet it really has no controls, right? The internet is it's a utility, it's a flat line that goes from east to west and north to south. Okay. Ungoverned space. The governance happens at the state level, not just at the federal level. So states are left to do what they want to do on their own, but now they want to introduce these new bills and these new acts. Okay. Let's look at the let's look at the act. Just give me a second. Share my screen real quick. Yeah, so HR 1361, Blockchain Promotion Act of 2019. Okay. It's been introduced, but let's go through this real quick. Span this out. This bill directs the Department of Commerce to establish the blockchain working group to submit a report to Congress, which contains a recommended definition of the distributed ledger technology commonly referred to as blockchain technology and other specified recommendations regarding this technology. So let's go through the text. So section 2, establishment not later than 90 days after the date of the enactment of this act, the Secretary of Commerce shall establish within the Department of Commerce a working group to be known as a blockchain working group. Here's my gripe with this, because here's my gripe with this. They say for commerce, but it's a technology that's an enabler, okay? They don't have this for any other technology. It's not like, oh, they have the USB, they have the Apple Lightning Cable Act, the act that looks out for the best interest of the consumer so that they have cheaper cables to buy and don't get gouged at, Apple stores or something like that. They don't have that. It's only blockchain that they seem to be really focused on. And blockchain from a perspective that has nothing to do with finance, right? Or the cryptocurrency, which is known as Bitcoin. So in reality, it's really just a distributed ledger technology, but what they're trying to do is control the narrative. There's no real reason why they need to be looking into anything about this, because technologies come and they go, okay? The only reason they put in any emphasis behind it is because they want to control the technology. All right. Look at the actions. It's been introduced to the House. Nothing. Let's get the actions overview. Yeah, there's nothing really going on as of yet. But this concerns me. This concerns me. So in the committees, one of the committees is a House Energy and Commerce Subcommittee on Communications and Technology, which is where it should have been in the first place, communications and technology. And so, I mean, we talk about blockchain every week, distributed ledger technology every week, and I'm saying to myself, blockchain doesn't work without the internet, right? It's a enabler that rides on the medium as a utility, okay? The internet is a utility. Blockchain, distributed ledger technology, is an enabler. It's a technology enabler. There should be some funding for research of how this benefits, most people, not to say most people, but the agencies that that don't have a grasp on what's going on, rather than to try to determine, redefine things and stuff like that. I just don't like when big government tries to step in on technology that really, see, I'm a self-proclaimed black technocrat. So when I look at things like this, and you have people who don't really know what's going on in terms of Congress and things like that. Your politicians are not really savvy on what's going on. From a technocratic standpoint, the way how I look at this is that you really don't need to be in that position. You really don't need to be in that position. Let the technical people deal with this, and that's it. Don't try to redefine anything. Don't try to redetermine anything. Let the technology play out. Because once you stymie the technology, right, you put all these bills and all these acts in place, then what happens here is that the bird can't fly despite it has wings. It's a flightless bird at that point. There's going to be so much compliance and regulatory implementations around this, you won't be able to do anything. You'll have to, protect customer information. Yeah, that's obvious, right? Know your customer, PII, sensitive information, yada, 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 NIST 843, NIST 800-63, all of these, guidelines and things from this and all these other frameworks are obvious, right? They all apply to any technology. So I'm not sure why one technology like distributed ledger technology is being laser focused on from a scrutiny standpoint. Because if that's going to be the case, what's going to be next? About VPN? Are they going to start going after that too? Let me see who's trying to get in here. Okay. So I just find it very concerning. What we talk about blockchain all the time on here, and I think that, you should have some form of literacy behind distributed ledger technology at this point. It's 2020, April 30th. You should have some form of understanding of what to do and what its capabilities are. And so that you can use this technology in the applications that follow behind it to actually enrich, our people, from a consultancy standpoint, and think about reparations, right? Reparations on the blockchain, DNA, genetic research in the loins of African descendants of slavery and things and so on and so forth, all of that can be leveraged on the blockchain in real time, okay? From the person back to the federal government, and back and forth. When you start talking about UBI on the blockchain, this makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of opportunities that's going to come from blockchain technology and whatnot. And I think some of us are maybe missing out on all of this. So I think people should really really start studying up on blockchain technology, cloud computing. This is all fourth industrialization that we're at right here. The bill should have been looking at fourth industrialization. That's what it should have been looking at. Instead, it looks at things that, from one area, one piece. Yeah, DE Raptor says this is a study about how to force all transactions to pass through the central banks. In America, there's only one central bank, which is the Federal Reserve. But this is non-financial though, so they're looking at this from a different perspective, at least from what this says, from what this says right here. It says the bill directs Department of Commerce to establish the blockchain working group to submit a report to Congress, which contains recommended definition of the distributed ledger technology commonly referred to as blockchain and other specific recommendations regarding this technology. I don't know if it's so much about that, DE, because it doesn't seem to focus on the financial aspect. It seems to focus on the non-financial aspect. Eugene Black says, do you think they make it harder on themselves? With technology, there is always another way around barriers and laws. Let's look at the Constitution for a second. The Constitution says that you have the Fourth Amendment, which is the right to privacy. Blockchain or distributed technology enables privacy. That level of granularization is what they're afraid of, that they will lose control over the communications piece behind the technology. Okay, they're playing catch up. China's already well ahead of this. China's 5 years ahead, if not six, if not more. So what I'm saying here is that the U.S. is playing catch up. Yeah, DE says commerce controls all trade. Yeah, but there's no trade with blockchain. There's no trade. It's an open source technology. They're not trading anything on a blockchain per se. They're not trading anything here. If I want to use blockchain, you know, to authenticate and fractionalize baseball cards or Teletubbies, that shouldn't matter. But what this is going to do is it's going to enable other countries, you know, the European Union, China, Japan, they're going to speed it up. Okay, the development of blockchain and whatnot, they're going to speed it up, and then they're going to be so far ahead of the United States, it's not even going to be funny. Oh, not even is that. Latin America, all of the lax policies in Bermuda, in the Caribbean and whatnot. Jamaica now. Jamaica is a big blockchain supporter now. Right? I disagree, DE. I disagree. Because people have been putting stuff in the dark web or just on the internet all this time. They've never been concerned about that. They've never been concerned about VPN. You know, they've never been concerned about that. Because if that was the case, they would just disable everybody's VPN. Because everybody still does their business on VPN, regardless if there's blockchain or not. Yeah, there's nothing really stopping us from using the technology for non-trade purposes. What they're trying to do, and this is just my take on this, is they're trying to redefine it so that it does involve the term trade, so that they can have that level of control from a commerce standpoint. But what they're not understanding is that VPN could be considered as a form of mechanism technology used for trade, because VPN rides on top of the internet as a utility. It's an enabler of the technology as well. see? Wow, people just came in and gave it 3 thumbs down. Interesting. But that's just my take on this. I think that you have these non-technical people involve themselves in the technicals, and the technical people are being basically kept on the outside of all of this. And so we're in the moving into a technocratic stage, and they don't know what to do about it. Yeah, that is true. There are, you have the NSA that looks at VPN, but the NSA doesn't have, there's no bills on the table to look at VPN, is what I'm saying. VPN is basically managed by, the communications is basically managed by the FCC and the NSA. But blockchain is an enabler of the technology too, and it should be sought after by those groups, not just by some random yo-yo in Capitol Hill. Let me see if anybody's trying to get on. There we got 23 people watching, man. Please hit the like button. All right, that's all I have for tonight. I really just wanted to read that piece off because I thought it was very interesting that they kind of rushed this right through there during COVID, right? While people are looking for vaccination and looking for help, from an infrastructure standpoint, where we're lacking, they're too busy trying to slide bills in here about blockchain and cryptocurrencies and digital currencies. Just to give you my insight on the whole digital dollar thing, they're trying to play catch up with China. They wasn't talking about this a few years ago, digital dollars and stuff like that. That wasn't really being discussed like that. What was being discussed was whether or not the Russians interfered in the elections. Okay, they weren't talking about digital dollars. They're only talking about it now because China ramped up. China's going to go live this year, regardless of what the pandemic does. What happens with the pandemic? They're going to go live with it. U.S. is playing catch up. Once China goes live, it's all over. All right. All right. Thank you all for joining us, man. Hit the like button if not already done so. Share the video if possible. Hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust. Those posted on the community tab. Shalom, everyone.